Okay, let's now look at Unit 2 review on page 31. Okay, A, we've got, ever since Julia and Darla got married in the past, okay, that's in the past, they have been doing a lot of traveling. That's what you have to use there. This is 2. They have been to 6 countries. That is, to be is going to be an action verb, non-action verb, no progressive. And it's also talking about a repeated action. And the feeling is they have visited 6 countries. They probably are going to be visiting some more in the future. They have been to 6 countries and plan to see another 2 this summer. So far, their favorite is Brazil, which they visited twice. Okay, I could really do either one here. I could say visited or have visited. If I say they visited twice, it means they do not expect to visit Brazil again. If I say they have visited Brazil twice, that means they expect to do it again in the future. The first time was in 2009. I have to use the simple past because I've got that definite time in the past. They went again last year. Again, I have a definite time in the past. When I talk about last year or 2009, some definite time in the past, I'm always going to use the simple past. Darla says, when I was a girl, I always wanted. Okay, she's talking about a time in the past when she was a girl, so she has to use the simple past. When I was a girl, I always wanted to marry a man who would take me to exotic places. Exotic means strange and romantic. Julio is that man. I have never known anyone so adventurous. And here you're using the present perfect. This word never kind of cues the use of the present perfect. However, I think Darla is pretty silly to think she needs a man to take her to a lot of different countries. I went to a lot of different countries and I was single, so there. Okay, B. Okay, past and past perfect forms. Okay, number 1. Jim and Darla met at a travel club meeting. This is something that happened their meeting happened in the past. It's finished. Okay. It was, okay, this is all telling the story about something that happened in the past. A classic case. Classic means kind of a familiar story or kind of a famous situation. It was a classic case of love at first sight. Okay, now you're going to use past perfect because you've got that by the time. I'm sorry, I left something out here. I'm sorry. Number one, Julio and Darla met at a travel club meeting, which Darla attended because a friend invited her. Okay. Yeah, we're all talking about this past tense. Okay. Past tense story. Attended, invited. Okay. For is they fell. Then for is they fell in love at first sight. Or it was a classic case of love at first sight. And then we go to the past perfect. Had known each other for only 2 months by the time Julio proposed. I'm going back to the simple past. Okay, now let's go to C, number 1. When I talked to Jason, he said that he didn't used to be a serious student. The wrong answer is D. Okay, and I'll just explain here. The present, affirmative is used to be. When you make the negative, use didn't, because it's a past tense, but then it's just used to be, because you've got the past tense here and you're taking it away here, the same way you do with any past tense. And when you speak this, you can't hear it. So that's, if you've heard people say this in conversation, you may have never noticed. Didn't used to be, there's no past form on used to. Number 2, when we lived in New York, we would have a lot more friends than we did when we moved to Chicago. B is incorrect because that would form in the past is for a repeated action. It's for a repeated action in the past. Okay. Have is a continued action. Continued situation. You can use used to have, but not would have. Number 3, I'm going to write you as soon as I. Okay, C is wrong. As soon as I. No, wait a minute. No, I'm sorry. A is the one that's wrong. A is the one that's wrong. Because this is all in the past tense. You have to say, I was going to write you as soon as I got home. Whole thing in the past tense. 4, Rosa and I were going to have dinner at a restaurant and then go to a movie, but we didn't. You need the negative because you see but. Okay, but means a contrast. So when I see the but, that means I'm going to have a negative. It didn't happen. Number 5, we went to a party even though we didn't know who else would be there. You need would for future in the past. And as we've talked about, you can also think about this as direct speech, as indirect speech. And 6, Mary and Carlos called off their wedding although they had been planning it. D is wrong. Okay. You're using the past perfect. It's the past perfect progressive. It is not passive voice. Okay. I could say something like, if I use passive, this is how it looks. Their wedding had been planned for months. That's a correct sentence, but I'm changing the subject to make it passive. Sorry, I stumble around and make mistakes, but just be patient.